you're into UFOs, you've heard about Betty and Barney Hill. If you're not into UFOs, you haven't, and we have to explain why they're important. But this is something that's really, really connects people to the actual experience, the actual time and everything, and that makes it incredibly meaningful. One of the really great things about special collections, and one of the things we talk about when we talk about instruction and the use of primary sources, is that connection you make to the past. And the connection you make to the past is, you know, I make the joke, it's touching stuff, but to have that experience of seeing something that happened at the same time as something that's really big or important. So Betty and Barney Hill is one of the original alien abduction stories, post-World War II alien abduction stories. And I feel like I always kind of make a difference between the two eras because the way we understand UFO abductions and the way we perceive UFOs as saucers and stuff like that really stems from them and other similar stories at the same time. So they had gone away for a weekend up in Canada, and they were coming home and through a highway in New Hampshire, and this is back before the interstate highway system was throughout, so we're really talking about small back roads in New Hampshire, and they noticed lights following them, speeding up, and eventually they stopped, and that's when the alien abduction happened. They did not initially remember it. It came back to them in pieces and bits over the next few days. And eventually they did seek out a hypnotist. And eventually they underwent hypnosis and uncovered the entire weekend. Then the book Interrupted Journey came out, which really publicized it and really crystallized some thoughts around some of the pop culture interpretations of aliens, such as little green men. Flying saucers as actual saucers, not just lights in the sky, and stuff like that. The highlights of the collection are Junior. So she commissioned an artist to make a bust of an alien, one of the aliens that she saw, as an explanatory thing. So when she went out and lectured. Junior's had a hard life. There are pictures on the internet of her taking him to different conferences, and he'll be there at the table with her. But he lived on the mantelpiece in her house, and he fell off one time. So that's why there's a hole in his back. Back of his head. We have done some restoration work. It is a bit fragile, but we put the bust on, we put the stand on, and we put this little wedge here to make it sit more evenly here. So we do have to store him carefully. He is somebody we tend to bring out. So this is the dress Betty wore during the abduction. You can see here with the dress that there's a lot of clippings and stuff. So she allowed people to take samples of the dress so that they could test it to see if there was any remaining alien residue. We have UFO researchers and we've had UFO skeptics. Anybody can come through that door. But the reason why this gift is really important, and the real importance of what Betty did, is by giving us a public institution this collection, it isn't going to go into the hands of private collectors. There are a lot of demands from the Hollywood film community about trying to get access, so we have to balance that with UNH licensing. But for students, especially undergraduate students here at UNH, we really do want to make this collection super accessible. This was an long-distance interracial marriage in the 60s, where interracial marriage was not common in New Hampshire. It's as if you imagine yourself as a middle-aged black man in the 1960s talking about anal probing is a very difficult subject when it's difficult for guys to talk about that now. It's complicated. My take on the story is complicated because I think there's a lot of richness in this collection that I think a lot of people can take different things out of it. I've heard different stories from different people over the years. Something profound happened to them. There's no denying it. It influenced the way she left the rest of her life. I think it's a complicated story because there's a lot of different elements to it. I do talk differently to different audiences because I don't want to say something negative to people who really believe in UFOs. And I don't want to say something overwhelming, say, yeehaw, UFO forever in front of people who are skeptics. Whether or not it was a real abduction or not a real abduction, it was profound. And she believed it was a real abduction.